Okay. We giving a shit I was supposed to be giving on Thursday. However, because Thursday has other shurim, so I didn't want to overload you with shurim, so I'm going to give it today. There is a concept called selling a loan. When I get a loan from a bank, a mortgage from a bank, or from one of the smaller banks that arrange the mortgages for you, they set the terms with me. And then after a month, a few weeks, a month and a half, 2 months, whatever it is, usually it's pretty quick, the bank takes all the mortgages that came in a certain amount of time, they bundle them, and they sell them to a bigger bank or to the government bank or whatever it is. Every bundle has a few good loans, a lot of medium loans, and a few bad loans. And that's how, otherwise if each loan is sold separately, nobody will be willing to take the bad loans. So you do it as a bundle, and then you have a few good ones, a few bad ones, a few in the middle.
It's not a bad loan.
The guy doesn't have such good credit, doesn't have such a good job, pays late, these kinds of problems. Usually, the bank that gives the mortgage continues handling your payments. That means even though my loan was, let's say, sold to a bigger bank, my smaller bank still services my loan. They collect every month and they send it weiter. That's one way of selling a loan. Another way of selling a loan is...
Who's hired to pay the owner of the loan now?
The owner, I'm the one who took the mortgage, I'm chayav to pay the mortgage.
Meaning, does the bank, the original bank they made the loan with, do they pay every month or not?
No, they send it weiter.
I mean, they just transfer the
They
money.
transfer the money.
If the person doesn't pay, they don't transfer.
They don't transfer anything. They sell the debt to the bigger bank. Then they collect from me, and every month they send it weiter. They send all the payments of all the loans to the next to the big banks that collect the mortgages don't want to have to deal with all the little guys. They say we have no problem buying from you 1,000 loans in a package, in a bundle, but we're not going to be sending letters to these people and chasing them. You want to sell us? No problem. You're servicing the loan. You're in charge of servicing the loan. Now, every loan has what's called the regular mortgage rate, and it's called default. Default means if you don't follow the rules of the mortgage, b'derech klal, if you don't pay, then the bank is not interested in dealing with you anymore. So the bank has a loan that let's say, gives you at 4% a year, a mortgage. And when you sign the mortgage papers, you'll see on the loan that it says over there the default rate could go 12, 15, whatever it is, much higher percentage per year. What they do is they go, usually it's more in commercial mortgages than in houses and buildings. They'll go to the people who are good. There's certain companies which like taking these distressed mortgages. They're investors, they have a lot of money to spare. They buy mortgages on buildings, Lamashal in Manhattan, where somebody messed up on, or big developments that got stuck in the middle of construction, someone messed up on the loan, and they pay the selling bank the mortgage that is owed, usually at a discount. Means they're buying the debt at a discounted rate. Let's say if the building owes $10 million in principal, so they'll buy it for $8 million, $7 million, whatever it is, depending on the situation. Then they'll go and you'll get a first letter from them that says you default. We're the ones that are taking care of your loan. You defaulted, from now on it's 15% as per the default rates. And they'll send you the letters once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. If you have bad credit and you can't refinance, you're stuck. But whatever happens, they're gaining. If you don't pay, they get a big, beautiful building in Manhattan at a discount. They'll foreclose on you. If you get refinanced, They already, by the time you get refinanced, they already got 9 months of more of interest at 12%. So they made back their money. When when you're refinancing, the next bank is going to have to add all the penalties and the things. They already made a good per dollar on the matter. Yeah, so that's how it works.
That's the second bank changes the rules.
No, the rules are in the first mortgage when you pay.
Yeah.
When you sign a mortgage, the bank tells you we're giving it to you at 4%.
Yeah.
And they give you tnoim.
And there's time. There's a default amount also.
Yes, the tnoim are, for example, if you're in a business thing, you have to send financials every year. A house you don't have to, but a business you have to send financials every year, commercial. And you have to pay every month.
But do you have to send financials?
They want to make sure that your business is still alive and around. You have to show that you're able to pay the mortgage. Because you're going to borrow more, there's construction loans, this, that. And you have to pay on time. If you don't pay on time, you get penalties. After a few penalties, so you have a few penalties, and then they're like, we're done with you. Not interested in dealing with you. We're selling this note to the bigger a company which specializes in dealing with people that don't follow the rules.
Right, and now this company changes the rules, makes it.
They don't change any rules because your original mortgage says that if you don't pay 4% a month, 4% a year, and you stop paying for 2 months or 3 months, you violate the terms of your mortgage, then your rate jumps to 12 or 15%.
Fine.
Or 25%.
So the next bank is going to make it 15%.
No, because that's according to your terms.
That was.
In your terms, it says that. But the smaller bank is not interested in chasing you for the 15%. They want to get out. They're not interested in dealing with these kinds of things. It's a lot of work and litigation and not interested. There's people who take it as an investment. Banks don't need buildings. They're not in the business of selling real estate. It's not their division. It's not their business. They're not interested in it. Same as the state is not interested in taxes and chasing you and owning houses. Every year, at the end of the year, you could buy tax liens on houses. You don't pay property tax, there's a tax lien on your house. Now, after a certain amount of time you don't pay taxes, the government sells 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 tax liens in one shot, and they sell it to an investor. And the investor and the tax liens, they grow. The more the interest grows, and it's compounded. I mean, every time you don't pay, the interest goes on the interest from the previous time also. So it grows. So there's banks that buy all of them, or investors that buy 1,000 tax liens, and they know that 90% of them are going to pay, or they'll work out a deal. Another 5%.
And the tax goes to you?
Huh?
Who gets the tax?
The taxes, the old ones go to you. The new ones go to the state. The old ones go to you. And 5% are going to fight with you. And the 5% you're going to end up with houses. So now, how much is the biggest tax? And you have $1 million house. Yeah, so some of them, so you're going to get a tax of $100,000, and the guy's not able to pay it. You get yourself a house from whatever, you work it out. So people can make money off it. If they know what they're doing, they can make money off it. Question is, could you buy a loan of a guy? Yeah? There's a shaykh b'chlal. According to halacha, it's very choppy. That's what we're going to discuss today. We have in Sif Yud Ches, it's a long Sif, Chaber, Ramo, with about 10 pieces to the Sif, in Sif Yud Ches. Sif Yud Ches has as follows. We'll start, and I'm going to go through the cases in the Mechaber. I'm going to explain different things along it. I'll call it more like a blotch here to understand the Yesodus over here. I'm not going to focus too much on any of the specific topics, but more give interesting things on each case that's in the thing. I did not give out. Huh? No, you can't say the Machus when it comes to Libus. You can't say the Machus when it comes to Kinyonim either. If Kinyon doesn't help, it doesn't help or anything.
I thought it's like something my mom is saying.
Yes, when you buy something, yes. You can buy a house according to the Machus. But a debt is a shiur, love the Africa can buy it. Yeah, so Mechaber opens up. You have a Jew borrows money from a guy, lends money to a guy with ribis. It's a specific price, specific amount of ribis, and the Yid gets a mashkin. So he is happy with his mashkin. And he has nothing to worry about. The Yid lends money to the guy, a banker, gets a mashkin, shine. The Yid has a mashkin in his hands, and being that the mashkin is in his hands, we'll soon discuss what rights does he have to this mashkin. But he goes and he uses this mashkin to borrow money from another Jew. He tells the other Jew, I lent money to a guy on this mashkin, I lent $100,000. I'm supposed to get $1,000 a month. It's $12,000 I'm supposed to make off this in this year. $1,000 a month, as long as it's not being collected. And he tells the second Jew, when the guy is going to come, he's going to want his mashkin back, right? So at that point, he's going to have to pay you the keren plus the ribis. So any ribis until today belongs to me. Any ribis from today going weiter belongs to you. That's fine. It's not a problem. Why is that? Because, it's not a problem as long as he sells him the mashkin. How does he sell him the mashkin? He tells him b'zal loshen hareini moichel lecho kol koyach schus v'shibut sheyesh le'mashkin zeh. I sell you every single power, rights, and shibut. Shibut means this liability, the enslavement. This piece, this object, this mashkin has on it to you. And from now on, I have nothing to do with you, you have nothing to do with me. That's it. So Elamai, you're going to collect the ribis from the guy. So the ribis that came before belongs to me, because I have nothing to do with you. And the ribis that's going to come right, it belongs to you. And then what happens afterwards? Shimon comes and he not interested in dealing with the guy for whatever reason. He goes to Reuven. And he wants to give him the mashkin back and say, I'm not interested in dealing with this. You go back and deal with the guy because the mashkin belongs to the guy. He could take from him the keren and the ribis because it's two separate transactions. He sold it to him and Sholom Yisrael. What's the reason for it? Simple sale. You sell the mashkin, transaction's over. From now on, who's achroy on the mashkin? The second Jew. Because he bought the mashkin. First Jew has no more chayes in the mashkin klap of the guy. It means the loan is pegged to the mashkin. The guy is going to pay to get his mashkin back, and he's clear. So therefore, Lu Yitzur, the Jew comes back, and the second Jew wants to give the mashkin back to the first Jew and take back whatever money he would have made from the guy. It's also fine because right now he's just selling him back the mashkin at the higher price. And then the second Jew will just go, then the original Jew will go to the guy and get whatever he's supposed to get out of him. Taz comes with Taz brings the lavush, the shit of the lavush, which is an interesting Taz, it's a long Taz. The Taz brings a lavush. The lavush has this idea. He says, being that this is a sale, so I could sell the mashkin for more than what I borrowed on it. So I'm Reuven, I lent money $100,000 to a guy. I'm supposed to get $1,000 a month. I got a mashkin for it. I want to borrow money on this mashkin. So I go to Shimon, I tell Shimon, I want to borrow from you $103,000. Why 103? 3 months passed already, right? I didn't get the money from the guy yet. The guy is supposed to pay at the end of the year, whatever it is. He's supposed to pay for every month. But 3 months passed. I'm already entitled to $3,000 from the guy. So I make a cheshbon in my mind. Why should I have to chase the guy for the $3,000 that I'm entitled to? I'm going to sell this mashkin to Shimon for 103, like this. The 100 that I lent, I got back. The 3,000 that I'm supposed to get from the guy, I also got back. I'm clear. I'm telling Shimon, there's another 9 months left on the loan. You'll make $9,000 off this deal. The guy's going to give you $1,000 every month. The Lavush says it's mutter. Why is that? It's a sale. I sold you the mashkin, I can sell it any way I want. Taz jumps up and says, not only is it not a sale, it could become a ribis Gemura Medeiraisa and Yetzer B'dayanim. Why is that? He says very simple. Why is it? He says when Shimon gives the loan, he's not thinking about in his mind, according to Lavush, the Rebbe continues going on the 100,000, and the 3,000 is an interest-free loan, a matana, whichever way you want to look at it. The 3,000 has nothing to do with the loan from the guy or the Rebbe. The Rebbe is going to continue coming. We say the Rebbe is going to continue coming. It's coming on the 100,000 and not on the 3. The Taz says no. I am the Jew who's lending the money, 103,000, and I'm getting a mashkin for it. In my mind, I'm getting $1,000 every month on $103,000. It's not 1%. It's not 1%. It's a little bit less than 1%. 0.9 something percent. So in my mind, from every dollar that I'm receiving ribis from the goy, I'm receiving $1,000. The vast majority of it goes to cover the $100,000 loan, and a little bit goes to cover the $3,000 loan. So I'm making ribis of the $3,000 that I lent to the Jew that are not part of the original loan to the guy.
He gave one avad to the one.
103.
Okay.
But the whole reason why, in his mind, the Taz says in his mind, when he gives the 103, he's calculating the ribis that's coming in equivalent to the 103. In his mind, he's getting $1,000. Why is he getting $1,000 a month from the guy? For $103,000.
He's getting 112 for 103.
He's getting a little for the $3,000 that he lent. He's getting a few dollars a month. Ribis.
Or meaning for the 103,000, he's getting
1,000. He's getting 1,000. He's getting the same 1,000. The 1,000 from the guy doesn't change.
103,000 that he lent. He's getting 110, 112,000.
Yeah. At the end, he's gonna get 112. Yeah.
The guy the Yid is borrowing from the Yid $103,000.
Yeah.
He has to pay back $103,000.
He has to pay. The guy is going to come pick up the mashkin and pay 112.
So the guy's paying for him.
The guy is paying 112 at the end. Yeah.
The guy's paying 112
Because the end of the year, to the second year, to get his mashkin back. The guy borrowed 100,000 and instead of paying you $1,000 a month. At the end of the year, I'm giving you 12 extra. So it's 112. So for the guy, he's getting 100 and he's paying at the end of the year 112. 2 years later, 124, whatever it is. He's paying ribas. The guy is paying the same set. Nothing changed. The Yid swallowed the 3,000 of ribas he already took from the Jew as a loan. So now when the second Jew, when Shimon is...
He took it as a loan.
Took it as a loan without any ribis on the mashkin.
And but that means he's going to be paying back this 103 somehow? No,
If the guy doesn't pay...
He's keeping the 103.
Yes.
So it's not a loan. He's completely keeping
It's a sale.
103,000.
That's the Shach looks at it. The Shach says the sale is a sale and goodbye. But ultimately, what's the reason? He's borrowing on the mashkin. We're converting it into a sale. But he's borrowing on the mashkin 103 on the guy's mashkin. And he's telling him the guy is going to give you $1,000 a month. Ribis, this mashkin came from the guy.
The guy should give back 109,000.
So really, the guy should have been giving back 109, but the guy is giving back 112. And the Jew is looking at it. And the Jew, every dollar that the Jew gets in the ribis, a small percentage of it goes to cover the $3,000 extra that he gave to the Jew. So it's ribis.
If there wouldn't be a mashkin.
Mashkin, you can't sell. That's the end of the sif. You can't sell alone. Goy shalom. So therefore, consider the ribis gemura. Every dollar of ribis that comes has in it a little bit of ribis that the goy is giving on behalf of the Jew for the extra $3,000. Yeah, that's a taz and a shach. There's one way and the other way. Good. You can think both ways. Yeah.
Why not say and you're done and we're starting now?
That's the shach looks at it. The shach right away says it's not so. It's a full sale. Shach says, I'm selling you the mashkin for any price I want. If you look at it as a sale, I'm selling you any price I want. And afterwards, you buy the mashkin back at any price you want. The guy is buying the mashkin. I'll buy the mashkin for you at 112, whatever. It doesn't make a difference. It's not a problem.
Is the mashkin be worth a certain amount, or it could even be?
So this is a whole discussion of that it doesn't work only if the mashkin is worth more. Like we discussed before, if it's a good mashkin or a bad mashkin, it's a separate.
No, because that's a Gabi alone. If you're looking at this as a mechira, so then does it have to
Should
be
you-
proportionate or not?
No, you could sell the mashkin for whatever you want. Batsim.
The mashkin represents a value that.
Right, but if I sell you a fancy car for $1,000, you know it's not so.
So at that, I'm saying at that price, why can't you just sell the etzim loan? Why do you have to sell it?
Because you can't sell guys loan. That's the problem.
What would be the issue?
We'll get to why we can't sell guys loan
Why
soon.
can't you
We'll get to that soon in the Kuda. Why can't sell guys loan?
change the terms?
Huh?
And I have to sell them the terms and conditions as I got them?
The guy is paying ribis,
I
right?
know, but I'm saying, do I have to sell? Or I could say that, let's say, he's buying from me a loan, but his rib is lower. It's not.
That's the mechaber. The mechaber says the Rama says later on. So you might be able to charge less of the ribis if you want more of the ribis, whatever. You could sell it for more. There's certain shit to show that. Huh?
103, so you could say that he's not making you 1,000, making you.
So according to the shach, yeah, if it's clear. So this is all based on the stam. I sell the mashkin. I'm not telling the second Jew anything. So machlek is what the lender thought, what the second Jew, what Shimon thought. Is he lending that the Lavush looks at it as he lent $100,000 on the ribis from the guy. The other 3,000 could be interest-free loan, could be a present, whatever. Bechinam nasan alay. Give it to him for free. But it's clear that if the second Jew is going to clearly say, would clearly not give you the extra $3,000 if not for the fact that he's making money off it, this Jew is a banker. He doesn't give money out for free. Whether it's $1,000 or $10,000 or $1 million. And you come and you tell him, I'm selling you the mashkin for $103,000, I'm borrowing from you $103,000 in this mashkin. In his mind, there's no division between the 100 and the 3. So according to Shach and the Levush should also be Asr. Because ultimately, there's no change over here. It's still Asr.
The second deed is making less than the first deed.
Huh?
Second deed is making less than the first deed. If the first deed would keep this regular loan with the guy, he would make an extra $12,000.
He would make 12,000.
12,000. The second deed is only making 9.
Second yid is making 9 because he went to 103 and he's getting back another 9. Huh?
So that the fact that it goes down in value the fact that he's making less is the way showing that he's not charging rivers.
He's lending.
No, because in his mind, he lends for whatever price he wants. He's agreeing to lend for $1,000 a month. What does it make a difference? His terms, he doesn't care. He's lending for $1,000 a month. So he's going to get from the guy. So according to the TAS, how would you calculate the Yotzei B'Dayanim? You would divide that money into 103, and whatever is coming in for the 3,000 has to go back to Reuven, because that's considered the ribis that the guy is paying on his behalf for the $3,000. Now that's first point. First point is that even according to the Shach, I'm going to point out, according to Shach and Levush, it will be clear that he's only lending it based on that. Also, l'chayra will be a problem. The lashon is hareini moicher l'cha kol koyach schus v'shibud. Right? I'm selling to you koyach schus and shibud. It doesn't say I'm selling to you the mashkin. Why is that? Quite simply, the mashkin is not 100% yours yet. What do you have in the mashkin? You have the koyach, you have the power to collect. You have the schos, you have some rights in it to be able to collect it. And shibud, that it's meshubad to the loan. So you could sell whatever powers you have in this mashkin, right? Now, it's a very important point I'm going to say now, because that's relevant to the next pieces in the Shulchan in this Sif. It's only if the guy doesn't say that the mashkin goes to you me'achshav. The guy tells you, I'm giving you this mashkin now, and if I don't pay you the loan by the end of the year with ribis, this mashkin becomes yours me'achshav. Then it's a different thing, right? Because it becomes yours, full years. Or similar scenario, when it takes a year, or there's a law in the land that if you don't pay you don't collect your mashkin after a year, you could take it. Such scenarios, Or when does it become yours? Or if the guy says me'achshav, it's a whole different din. How do we know about me'achshav? The din of me'achshav is discussed in Shach-ט Nun Zayin on this simon. Yeah, he says it's also a long shach, and it discusses about me'achshav. However, if you want to understand me'achshav well, a different place where you can understand the din of me'achshav, and that is in Hilchos Pesach. Alter Rebbe in Siman Taf Mem Aleph, someone who lends money on chametz. Again, mashkin of chametz. Yeah, so we'll read a few sifrim quickly. Understand the difference between me'achshav and not. Sif Beis, Gimel, Daled, and Yud in Taf Mem Aleph. Yeah, you have a guy lends money to a Jew, and the Jew gives him a mashkin of chametz. Yeah, simple. A guy lent money to a Jew gave him a box of cookies as a mashkin. And he tells him, me'achshav, this becomes yours if I don't pay you until this and this time. If I don't pay you, he borrows it in a Shiur. Says, this box of cookies, if I'm not going to pay you by Shiur, it will become yours, me'achshav matana gemura. Yeah, so then being that the chametz will become the goy's, even if the yid has certain element of achrayus on it. Yeah, it's einay over all of klum. You know, we look at it as me'achshav, the mafreya became the goy's chametz. If you don't pay for it, mafreya becomes the goy's chametz. You're not over bal yirah bal yimatzah. But says Alter Rebbe in Sifdal, if he did not tell him me'achshav via kulei shelcha, he just tells him, stam, I'm giving it to you as a mashkin. And if I don't pay you the full amount by the Shiur, then it's going to become yours. Or even by the Chodesh Adar, or whatever it is, even if it doesn't make a difference, even if it's before Pesach, that the Zman Peron was Chodesh Nisan, and he didn't pay him. Yeah, still it's being that even after you the time is up, you could still bedina Yisrael, you could still go and collect your mashkin and pay your loan. Then it's also bano.
What if he doesn't pay up?
Hmm?
He doesn't pay up.
If he does pay up, you have to be invited. It's yours. It goes back to being yours. You're the Yisrael. You gave back the money. You have to sell it. Yeah. Could you sell? It's a big problem. You have to.
What's the help to save action? If you're going to pay back, what helps? What helps you don't pay?
Then I guess if that's what Alter Rebbe says, then it's over and by Rabbi Matzah.
If you paid back.
If you paid back Rosh Chodesh by Rabbi Matzah. Yeah, and then comes to the sif. Hey, comes to the question of what you asked before, Ari, that if it has to be more than the value of it. He says this whole thing only works if the mashkin is worth more than the law, than the loan. But if the chametz is worth just exactly as the amount of it, and came the Zman Piron before Pesach, and you didn't pay on time, then it does become fully the guys. It's not a asmachta, and we say being that the mashkin is exactly the same amount as the loan, then it became the guys without a question. Yeah? And then what you have it the other way around, and if you have a Jew which lent money to a guy, and the guy gave a mashkin of chametz to the Jew, and so now the Jew has a mashkin of chametz that belongs to the guy, and he tells him me'achshav, and came the time and didn't pay, even though if he didn't pay after Pesach, and it's b'chayis of the guy, it's still, if the time came and the guy did not pay it, then the mafreyat became the Jews chametz, and he was over on Bal Yiroi or Bal Yimatzah. Yeah, so if it's me'achshav, it's a problem. Over here, it's not a problem. If it's me'achshav, now let's go back to Rebbe. If you say it's not me'achshav, and I can't sell it, I can only sell a kerech eschus, but it's me'achshav, I can sell it all mashkin. Yeah, and why does he have to say ve'enecha shum eisek imcha v'lo lecha imi? I have nothing more to do with you, because it has to be a complete and absolute mechira. I can't have any claims against you. You can have any claims against me. Now comes the big question: how could you bichlal sell something to a goy? You have a halach in Choshen Mishpat, Simen Reish Gimel. When it comes to Shchiv Meira, Sif Chof, Shulchan Aruch says that Yeshayim, the Rama says Yeshayim Mehad Shchiv Meira Yochol Haknois Halvo Shaloi Shebiyad Acherim. In fact, a Shchiv Meira could be makne a choiv that somebody owes him. Is only Biyad Yisro, V'lo Halvo Sheyesh Lo Biyad Goy. So if you have it in the hands of the goy, you can't be makne a choiv. V'afilu yesh lo mashken eshtar min hagoy, even if he has a mashken or a shtar from the goy, yesh lo istapek im yuchal lahaknes v'chein nira li lahoyres. Suffolk, if I could be makne, chen nira li lahoyres. Yeah. So you read the Shulchan Aruch simply, seems to be a contradiction. Yeah. However, before we even continue to explain what it says in Shulchan Aruch, but just the point over here in Shchiv Meira, he's makne the choiv. There's a choiv with a shtar, a choiv with a balpeh, a choiv with a mashkin. He's not the mashkin, the actual mashkin. Over here, we're talking in Yeridei, we're talking about makne the mashkin. The Shchiv Meira can't be makne. It's talking about that he can't be makne the choiv on which there is a mashkin if it belongs to a goy. Yeah, and that's actually clearly written in Shach-ט Samach in our Shulchan Aruch, the end of Shuchat Samach, where he says that ein choiv shlevet kechov nikne bekinyan. Yeah, but if you makne the mashkin, then you could, whichever way you do, even if the mashkin is not there, alasa. You know, why is it that you can't purchase a choiv of a goy? The Smen Choshen Mishpat says the name of the Mordechai writes in the name of Yosef and the name of Rabbi Lezer Mimitz. The reason is Kev when the PM Diber Shov, Goyim PM Diber Shov. Some chodaitiv lekanya afilu b'matnas shchiv meira. You can't. There's one who's buying it. There's no smichos das. There's no kinyan. Even when shchiv meira, he knows that if this loan comes from a guy, there's absolutely nothing that you can't trust the word these guys say. And Shalom Yisrael, this loan is not purchased. Yeah, and the Smeh says afilu yesh mashkin the goy biyad Yisrael. It still doesn't help. You can't purchase it in such a way. Now, interestingly, there's a Gilya Maharsha on the Choshen Mishpat over there, who he says that the fact that the Choshen Mishpat mentions it in the din of Shchiv Meira, it's mashma Shchiv Meira is a shvach kinyan. Shchiv Meira but maybe if it will be a real person, not Shchiv Meira, maybe you could be transfer a kinyan, you could transfer something to a goy with ksiva, mesira, whichever the regular ways to do it. Yeah, and he says this l'chayre vada yochol haknes, l'chayre he could do, and especially in the previous Gilad Marsha, especially if it's with a shtar, that's a much stronger, maybe balpeh, maybe a shtar and the body, l'chayre he could do it. And he brings what the Shach says over here. He says Shach sigir simukuf samachez v'kotan samachal v'kasal l'hipuch v'tzarech. The Shach wrote on this, and he makes it also even in the body. He says leaves it as a tzarech. He's not just pointing out to you. That's so clear. However, the halacha l'maisa we do differently because Al Tereva does paskin very strongly about it. Yeah. Now comes the Rama. Starts in the Sa'if, and he says that if Reuven did not sell all the koyach and schus and shibud, he did not sell. He did not make the whole lashon of moichel kol schus and koyach shibud and any esek yimach v'chol. Stam was a malva mashkin. Stam was alva mashkin. Still mutter. Why command the Omer leidami? It's as if we told him. We rely probably the Yidden did it in the proper way. Yeah, and so therefore comes out of it the chumrah. If you stam do it like that on a mashkin of a goy, and then Shimon comes and wants to take back the mashkin. Then Reuven comes and wants to take back the mashkin. Shimon, who gave the money, said, I don't have to give it back to you. He could refuse. Because we say that whenever it was bestam, it was probably done in such a way it should be kosher. probably it was done kosher. If you didn't do it kosher, it's usher. So the fact that the Ramah says that bestam you could be, you don't have to say all these words. If you didn't say it's still good, creates for you a chumre that the mashkin can't be taken back. Yeah, v'chein aminuk pashut, says the Ramah. Shach right away comes and says, what does minuk pashut? The minuk pashut is you don't have to give back. The minuk pashut is you don't collect. What's the minuk pashut over here? So the minuk pashut is very simple. The minuk pashut is that if you lend money to somebody on a mashkin of a goy that he has, you don't have to give the whole speech of but regarding the question if Shimon must return the mashkin or not, he says, and this is no minute that he has to. There's no, he's not chayav. The minute that the neg in lachzira, there's a minute that you give it back, but there's no obligation. And really, Shimon could stand his ground and say, "Api halacha, dry halacha, I have a right to keep it." Yeah, now just in the Alter Rebbe in Sif Samaches, he says you do have to say it. And the Alter Rebbe says, Sif Samaches, when the Kolel b'derech mechire in a case with a mashkin, not without a mashkin, case with a mashkin, Alter Rebbe says, ein lo takona b'derech mechire, ein lo takona ela b'derech mechire. The only way to solve it is in a manner of mechire. שיוימר הראשון לשני כשלא יבוא ממנו הריני מויכל לכו כל כוח וזכות ושיבוט שיש לי המשכן זה והנה עסק עמכו ולא לכו עמי. The same lashon as the Ramah. I'm selling you every single right and every single schus and every single shibud that I have in this mashkin, and you're not going to have any more claims to me, not going to have any more claims to you. That's the only way that it works. And even if the mashkin is worth a lot, then the guy will never take it. Yeah. And the Ischayev Yisrael Hashem Anichal Rishon Sheif Diloy Lam Ken Yirtze Miritzoynei Hatoy Veloy Bederech HaChiyuv. You cannot, it has, only if he's willing to do it free willingly, to give back the mashkin to the second Jew. If he doesn't want to give back the mashkin to the second Jew, tough luck. Doesn't work. That's what the Alter Rebbe says. So it's clear that it's not, he doesn't really, it seems like he doesn't really accept that Ramah's cooler, that every loan works like that. On the flip side, if you don't, you might have an element of being able to collect, to get your mashkin back. The Ramah goes even further. He says now, the Ramah comes and says, even if you make a deal that you have that you're going to give back the mashkin, still works a kol k'fi shehusnu. Comes the Shach with a big question. We all know, we're going to learn it further in Shulchan Aruch, and the Alter Rebbe. It's also written in, if someone learned the Alter Rebbe El Seder, you already know it from before, because the Sifrim about this topic are earlier. If I make a sale on condition that, in Sif Nun Daled, the Alter Rebbe says, starts from Sif Nun Daled and on, if I make a loan, a mechire, with an option of clawback, of taking it back after a certain amount of time, yeah, even if I didn't ever fulfill my right to take it back, it's a raya that it's not a complete mechire. And it's mamash ribis. The Alter Rebbe is even more machna. The Alter Rebbe says even if you don't say chiyuv gomor, but he just says that I will, it's nikor midas ha-moicher shiritzoni lachzil mimkoreh. Even if you didn't actually make a condition, it's clear from my intentions that the reason I'm selling it to you is in such a way that I'm going to want to be able to get a refund afterwards. It's not a full sale. It's still awesome. Even without any promise. Why? When the seller sells it, he's relying on the fact he's going to be able to get it back down the line. That's awesome. So you have the Ramah over here. The Ramah comes and says that even if you make a condition, the Ramah says, everything is according to the Tanai. So the Shach obviously has the big question, comes and says, how can you do? How can you do the thing? It's a mechire with a condition to buy back, and obviously the whole thing becomes matal. That doesn't work. So the Shach says maybe, this is where the Ma'achshav comes the other side. Maybe He didn't say being that the guy did not say me'achshav. And obviously we're talking about a scenario where the mashkin does not automatically retroactively become the guy's property if the guy doesn't pay legally. So maybe the svara is that it's mutter because why is the second Jew lending money to the first Jew? Where's the smichus das? Some chadaiti on the mashkin, right? Not on the yid. He's relying on the mashkin. Like this is what we looked at previous year. If it's a good mashkin, he's relying on it. You could think maybe. So in Sifri Zayin, so maybe he's relying on it. So all the ribbis that's coming, it's coming from the mashkin of the guy. It's a good mashkin. Mashkin is enough to collect from it. The guy did not say me'achshav when he gave it to Reuven. When Reuven gave it to Shimon, Shimon is collecting the ribbis based on this mashkin that he never said me'achshav on. So therefore, it still belongs to the guy, and any ribbis that comes goes based on the mashkin. He's collecting it. He's tacking it onto the mashkin, not onto the yid. So therefore, even if you make a condition, I'm going to buy back from you the mashkin. All I'm doing is, I'm telling you is, you're borrowing, I'm lending you money, I'm borrowing from you money based on this mashkin. This mashkin has a lot of equity in it. Equity means it has a lot of value in it. It could go on this, you can have a long loan on this and you'll still be able to collect. So the second yid is relying on some chadaita, on the idea of the mashkin. He's collecting on the mashkin from the goy. There's a yid in between. The yid is just transferring the piece back and forth. So therefore, it's not a problem. Yeah. However, that again, if you're going to look at dry Alter Rebbe, it doesn't fly. Alter Rebbe Bichlal doesn't. This hold the next. Not only the previous one, the Alter Rebbe doesn't hold even that you know that the Alter Rebbe says you have to say that it's a mechir. And if you have to say it's a mechira, you for sure can take it back. Do a full mechira. This is all based on the Ramah is building upon a kula on top of a kula. Kula, first one, you don't have to say. And even if you don't say, we have in mind, you probably had the right idea in mind. And even if you don't say, I could tell you that I want to get the mashkin back because we're doing a sale. Maybe I could. Then it's mutter. Then according to Ramah, it seems like from Alter Rebbe that it's not going to be mutter. I'm going to jump a little bit in the Ramah. I'm not going to go through every single case that there is in the Ramah over here. When it comes, there's a next level of the next point in the Ramah is that I want to focus on is the fifth line on page Nutes, where it says where the Shach Nun Ches is on it. Basically, when you're doing the second loan on the mashkin, and the second Jew who's lending the money tells the first Jew, I have no place, I don't have a garage, I have nowhere to park the car. You have a fancy car, keep it by you, I have nowhere to keep it. Yeah? But I'm lending to you based on the guy's Lamborghini, but I just don't have a good parking spot. I don't have a garage that could lock. I'm going to put it on the street, it'll get stolen. I can't do anything with it, so you hold it by you. So then over there, the Ramah says that the mere fact that Shimon gave the money to Reuven as the loan, yeah, the 100,000, Shimon was already kind of the mashkin wherever it is. Why? Because since we look at the mechira, so we say by me giving the $100,000 loan, I bought the Lamborghini. It's parked in a different state, in a different city, in a different location. It's fine. In deraisa, most kinds you don't do mashiach. In this case, you can rely on the kinyan deraisa.
Why does it work?
Why does it work?
Why are
moist kindness? The Ramah says in this case, you could rely, even though with the Rabban you need a kinyan mashiach. Over here, you can rely on moist kindness for the sake of making this loan kosher. We're trying to avoid. You look the whole. Remember, this is I think I mentioned it a few times in Shiur. The Sfardim made money doing businesses. The Ashkenazim were not allowed to do business. All the things they were allowed to do was lend money. They're bankers. So, evidently, if you're going to lend, then the Jews are going to get messed over. because they can't borrow money. Only the Goyim can borrow money. If a Jew is only lending money with ribis, it's the only way of making money, it's going to be stuck. So you look through the Ashkenazi poskim, you will see time and time again that when it comes to ribis, they tried to be makel as much as possible, find every way possible that the Yid should be able to make money and not be able to Yisur Derais. It's the Rabban, it's the Derais, make it as easy as possible. Today, we don't need to. Today, you can make money from a lot of other things. But at least then, you just have to understand a lot of times you look at things, you don't have to understand the history around it. You have to look at the reality on the ground in those days. They're just not shaykh to make money any other way. That's what they did, was lending money. It was the banks. The only thing they didn't make money was bankers in those countries. So they had to figure out a way to do it. So that's what the Ramos says over here. You could rely on the Kenyan somewhere else, but the Ramos says still it's better. You should be makneh through somebody else. What does it mean makneh through somebody else? Even though with the Reis and Mois Koinos, could be if I'm not next to you at the time of if I got the money through a wire today, I got money through a shliach, so I can't give you the mashkin. So I give makneh through somebody else. I think I mentioned in the past the way to do it. You take a third person and he is zoiche for it. I'm telling him that he should be koined for the next person. So I go and I do the mashiach through a third party, a third Jew. I'm in a different place. I go back to my town with the money, and I still have the car in my parking lot. I call a third Jew. I tell him, here are the keys. Pick them up. Drive the car around the block. You're zoiche for the car for Shimon. And that works. Shach over here comes and adds, you can't stack all the kulas together. Using this kula, you have to say mechira gemura. You can't say, like we know in the beginning, that Amos says if you don't say, it still works. So no, you have to say mechira gemura. When the mashkin is not in front of you, and the mashkin stays in the first guy's hands, and the first guy's property, you can't say that he had in mind that the mashkin is being kaina and the whole thing becomes mutter. No, that's too much already to go for. As if katan nun ches. You have to say that there's a mechira. You have to clearly say in the Meichel kol schus koyach v'schus v'shibut sheyesh li b'davar zeh shenimtza in that place, and then it works. Otherwise, it doesn't fly. Because being that the mashkin still remains in my property, it's clear that you can't say that we thought there was going to be a sale. No, it's in my property. It didn't get sold to anybody else. Therefore, seems like it belongs to him. Yeah, now I'm going to, there's a whole other topic there's another interesting story in the Ramah. I'm not going to get into it now, I don't have enough time to get into it now, but I want to go to the last point of the Mechaber. Mechaber ends Yudches by saying, B'choyvis shel ashroi. If it's a loan, ashroi is just without any mashkin. Yeah, so you have to tell him as well. It's not you can't sell the loan like we said before. So rather, Shimon has to say to him, for this and this sale, I'm giving you now $100,000, and with that, you're pointed as a goy from any and all obligations that he has towards you. And with this amount, I will purchase from you whatever I can collect from the guy on this loan. But there's no mashkin, so I can't buy the mashkin. I'm only buying a note. And to buy a note, I can't buy a shtar choiv that belongs to a guy. All I can do is, the guy owes you money, you have to be paid to the guy completely from it, and then I go in and I buy from you whatever I could collect from the guy. Yeah, how does Alter Rebbe write it? A little bit stronger words than the Shulchan Aruch. Just by the way, the Shach says, this is where the Shach says that over here no other kinyan will work because of it's a goy, which I mentioned before. Alter Rebbe says in Siftes, Sif Samachtes. First, he discusses about how to do the mashkin. I forgot to mention it before. He says, Mechira Zu, you have to do it in a way that the mashkin, which is metaltalim nikna bahem. Now, Yesh lechoyv ben al nachri beribis beloi mashkin. If he has a choiv without a mashkin, afilu yesh lo shtar choiv. Even if he does have a shtar choiv, so we see that he does not make the chiluk that we discussed in Choshen Mishpat, simulation of Gimel. Shchiv Meirah is the difference between a shtar and Baal Peh that discusses over there in Choshen Mishpat. Ein derech la'knoisam liYisrael she'alveu mois v'yikach le'yarivis elu min hanochim me'im v'hal'o. There's no way for a Jew to be makne a shtar choiv to another, even a shtar choiv to another Jew. Fish a choiv shall nochri in a nikne b'shum kinyan sheba'olam. Choiv v'goy cannot be purchased by any form of kinyan. What are you being moishach? A piece of paper. What are you picking up? A piece of paper. You're not being kind of anything. Kind of piece of paper. It's nothing. Therefore, it doesn't work. Elamai, he says, Mata konosoi. The second, the Shimon tells, huh? Well? No, you could buy mashkin. You could buy by Mashiach. You could buy Mashiach with mois. But the shtar, nothing helps with. No, the reason is because it's shtar choy v'goy. You can't do choy v'goy. You can't sell because PM dibur shov. What I'm saying is, even if it's a shtar, it doesn't help you anything. The PM dibur shov, even with a shtar, all you're getting is a piece of paper. The PM dibur shov is still on the piece of paper, so they signed on dibur shov. למכור צ'ק? שאלה אחרת. השאלה אם זה שטר צ'ק זה בעצם שטר חויב. אבל זה שווה כסף. הצ'ק זה כמו... זה לא שווה כלום. אם אין כלום בחשבון זה לא שווה כלום.
כן. Also able to use...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what I'm saying is the biggest proof of PM Dibur Shov, it could be also with Yidden, you're not supposed to say it. What I'm saying is the guy gives you a check and there's no money in the account. It's PM Dibur Shov. Bounce check. So yeah, I bought a check and I got stuck. The check more than a shtar chayv. So he tells him, you take the money from this and you poiter mikoil v'koil. You moichel the guy any chayv he has to, and he's poiter mikoil v'koil. And then I buy from you whatever I could get from the guy. She'af shel choiv. This Alter Rebbe explains that she'af shel choiv shel nachri in a nikne bekinyan, even though you can't buy a choiv v'goy with a kinyan, nistalek mimenu Yisrael harishon b'teres mechile ve'ein habsheni noitel ribis shel harishon. The first Jew removed himself by mechile from this debt. And then comes the second Jew, and whatever he collects from the guy, he collects ribis, has nothing more to do with the first Jew, because the first Jew was nostalgic and ganzen from it. The guy is chayv to who? No, not chayv to first either. He was Michael. The guy just doesn't know about it. If the guy would be listening to what's going on, it's over. Yeah. Because he hears a Michael the chayv. It's over. Elamai, we're relying on the fact the guy didn't hear about it. And then Alter Rebbe explains, you have to make sure there's no achrayis remains.
Maybe if the guy just decides he doesn't want to pay, not because he's not good, just because he's a guy.
So how are you going to be teveya?
You lose.
You lose in court because you don't have a paper. The second Jew doesn't have a shtar with the first guy. You lose in din Yisrael because you have a shtar either. You sold it with a shtar, maybe. It's a risky endeavor, yeah. So it comes out that Lamaise selling, I think I mentioned, selling a shtar choiv. If you look at the stocks of the shtar choiv that the company owes you money, or mortgages, a Jewish banker to sell a mortgage is a big problem. By a mortgage, mainly you have the house as a mashkin. How could you do a kinyan on them? You can't do mashiach on the house. You do it with the changing the key, maybe. You have to go and change the key to the guy.
If you buy that,
give the key. Yeah.
You have to buy
The whole mashkin. The whole house. Yeah, that's the mashkins on the house, yeah. The house is the mashkin. Anyways, okay. That will stop now.